The smell of hospital antiseptic couldn't mask the scent of death. I held my mother's thin hand, watching her chest rise and fall with fragile effort. Across the room, my two younger sisters Sophie, 14, and Chloe, 12, clung to each other, their faces pale with a terror too deep for tears. "Lena," my mother whispered, her voice a dry leaf rustle. "My sweet, responsible Lena, promise me." "I promise, Mama." I didn't need to hear the words. I knew, take care of your sisters, keep the family together. The house ... it's for all of you, keep them safe. I was 19, a freshman on a partial scholarship, dreaming of medical school. Those dreams evaporated with her last breath, 2 days after our father's sudden heart attack. We were alone, the three of us. The will was simple. Our parents' estate, including the modest but paid-off family home in a decent Chicago suburb, was held in trust until Sophie turned 25. I was named the executor and guardian. There was a small life insurance policy enough to cover funeral costs and leave about $30,000 for groceries, clothes, and keeping the lights on. I dropped out of college, got a job as a receptionist at a dental office, then trained to become a dental assistant. I worked overtime, I packed lunches, I helped with algebra homework and braided hair for first dances. I said no to dates, to parties, to a life of my own. I wore thrift store clothes so they could have new ones for school. I was sister, mother, father, and breadwinner. At night, I'd collapse on the couch and look at the family portrait above the fireplace. "I'm keeping them safe, Mama," I'd whisper to the empty room. The years passed in a blur of teenage drama, parent-teacher conferences, and utility bills. Sophie, fiery and artistic, got into a good design school. Chloe, the academic, earned a full ride to an Ivy League school. I sold my mother's jewelry to help with Sophie's dorm deposits. I took a second job to send Chloe spending money. The day Sophie turned 25, the trust dissolved. We sat at our childhood kitchen table. I was 30, tired in my bones but proud. I spread out the documents. The house is paid off. "It's worth about $450,000 now," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "There's also about $60,000 left in savings from careful budgeting over the years. According to the will, it's split equally 3 ways. We can sell the house and each get about $150,000 as a start for our adult lives, or ... we can keep it as our home base." Sophie, sleek now in clothes I couldn't afford, exchanged a look with Chloe, who was home on break wearing a university sweatshirt. "Actually, Lena," Sophie began, not meeting my eyes. "Chloe and I have been talking, we think you mismanaged the funds." The words hung in the air, senseless. "What?" Chloe chimed in, her voice cool, lawyerly already. "The financial records are messy. You paid yourself a salary from the trust for being our guardian. That wasn't authorized, and the house maintenance costs seem inflated. We believe you've been skimming for years." I felt the room tilt. Skimming? That salary was minimum wage for 80-hour weeks. The maintenance costs were a new roof after the hailstorm, the furnace replacement. I have every receipt. Sophie slid a formal-looking document across the table. "We've hired a lawyer. We're suing for executor misconduct. We want you removed from the trust entirely and to repay what you took, with interest. We're also claiming emotional distress for your controlling parenting." I stared at the paper. The words "breach of fiduciary duty" swam before my eyes. These weren't my sisters. These were strangers raised on my sacrifice, and they were demanding I pay for the privilege. Their lawsuit was a public grenade. They filed in probate court, alleging I'd stolen their inheritance. They gave interviews to local news, painting me as a greedy, manipulative older sister who had exploited our parents' death. "She stole our childhood and our future," Sophie said tearfully on camera. I was eviscerated. The community where I'd been the poor, brave girl now looked at me with suspicion. My dental office, worried about publicity, let me go. I hired the only lawyer I could afford, a gruff, elderly man named Frank, who took one look at the case and said, "This is going to get ugly, kid." But truth is a powerful thing. We didn't have money. But I had evidence, a decade of evidence. I went to the attic and brought down boxes. Not of legal documents, but of our life. My journals, where I'd chronicled every grocery bill, every skipped meal so they could have pizza with friends, every moment of fear and exhaustion. Every bank statement, every receipt, meticulously organized. But more powerful than receipts were the relics of love. The handmade birthday cards to the best mom sister in the world, the emails from college, Lena, thanks for the care package. I was so homesick, you're my rock, photos of me, eyes shadowed with fatigue, beaming at their graduations. Frank's eyes grew damp as he went through it. This is your defense. This is your truth. The court date arrived. The courtroom was packed. My sisters sat with their sleek lawyer, avoiding my gaze. I sat with Frank and my boxes. Their lawyer painted a picture of a scheming opportunist. Then it was our turn. Frank didn't call financial experts first. He called me to the stand. Lena, why did you drop out of college to keep my promise? To keep a roof over their heads. Did you ever take a vacation, buy yourself nice clothes, go on dates? I gave a small, sad smile. There was no time. Or money. He had me walk the court through my journals, reading entries about working a double shift with the flu because Chloe needed braces. About selling my own laptop to buy Sophie a decent computer for her design courses. Then, Frank presented the clincher. A notarized document from our parents' original lawyer, found buried in my files. An addendum to the will stating we authorize our daughter Lena to draw a reasonable living wage from the estate for her duties as guardian to be determined at her discretion. My sister's lawyer had overlooked it. The final blow was a video. Frank had reached out to my sister's college roommates. One after another, they testified on screen about how often I'd called to check on them, how I'd sent money when they were short, how I'd been their sole source of family. The judge, an older woman, listened with a stony face. When my sister's lawyer tried to argue, she held up a hand. She looked at Sophie and Chloe. I have seen many family disputes in this court. Rarely have I seen such a profound failure of gratitude, such a breathtaking lack of humanity. She then looked at me. And rarely have I seen such selfless devotion so cruelly repaid. The judge's ruling was swift and brutal. She dismissed their lawsuit with prejudice. She not only affirmed my right to the salary I'd taken, she calculated it at a fair market rate for a live-in nanny and housekeeper for 11 years, a sum that vastly exceeded what I'd ever paid myself. Furthermore, she ruled that due to their bad faith and malicious litigation, Sophie and Chloe would be responsible for all court costs and my legal fees. And then she delivered the ultimate ruling. Given the demonstrated inability of the plaintiffs to act in the familial best interest, and the executor's decades of impeccable service, I am removing Sophie and Chloe Thorne as beneficiaries of the remaining liquid assets. Those assets, approximately $60,000, are awarded to Lena Thorne as compensation for pain and suffering. The house remains jointly owned, but with Lena holding primary residency rights, my sisters were not only defeated, they were penalized. The $60,000 was their entire cash inheritance gone. Outside the courtroom, they finally faced me. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a stunned, white-faced shock. "You've ruined us," Sophie hissed, her voice trembling. I looked at them, these girls I'd raised, and felt nothing but a vast, hollow distance. "No, you did that to yourselves. I gave you everything. And you tried to burn me for the ashes." I turned to leave. "Lena, wait." Chloe cried, a hint of the little girl she'd been in her voice. "We're sorry. We were wrong. We we were greedy and stupid. Please don't let it end like this." I stopped but didn't turn around. The weight of 11 years pressed on me, the lost sleep, the silent tears, the endless worrying. I thought of my mother's promise. I kept my promise, Mama, I whispered to the air. I kept them safe. Even from themselves. I looked back at my sisters one last time. The house is still yours in name, but my home is wherever I choose to make it. You taught me that family isn't blood, it's the people who don't make you prove your love in court. I walked away, down the courthouse steps. The sun was shining for the first time in over a decade. The future was mine alone. Not as a guardian, not as a sister mother, but as Lena, and that was the only inheritance I needed.